Hello, hello, everybody. Did I have something a little different for you? A couple of days ago, I was going through some video and I found this piece of lost film. So I went looking for the little stone and I found it. So I figured let's finish it up and do a video on it. So here we go. I have a 3-inch stone that's been base coated in a Oasis Teal, I believe, in white. And I'm using a 16 grid template. I haven't used templates in a long time, but here we go. So I put I think it's a 5mm white dot right in the center. I'm using plain acrylic, white acrylic. And then I equally spaced out 8 dots and then in between 8 more. So I have a total of 16 dots on my first go round. On the second go round, I'm using a little bit bigger of a tool, and I'm doing the same thing. Between every other dot, I'm going to put a larger dot. Once I've gone around the first time, I'll have 8, and then I go back and I put another dot in between, and that'll give me 16. And I do that because it stops, believe it or not, it does help stop the dots from running together. So now with a large tool, I think it might be the other side of the tool I used the first time, and the same white, I am placing 8 more equidistant dots around the second row. So now we have 3 rows. And now with a smaller tool, I'm going to walk 2 sets of dots from the top down, left and right, on 4 of these larger dots. So I'm going to do 1, then I'll skip 1 and do the next one until I have 4 with the walked dots around them. Now in between here, I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm using a smaller tool, and I'm coming from the base and I'm walking dots up. Now you can see that there's still grid marks there. Those were there when I found the stone, so I'm kind of playing with something I'm not familiar with anymore. But anyhow, I'm walking up towards that mark, that line, and topping it off with 1 large dot. Moving down to the first collar, I don't know what I was planning on doing, but it looks like I was going to do something or try to do something kind of fancy with large dots and small dots, but it didn't work out. And eventually I ended up just doing the same size dots all the way around. Now it doesn't look, they don't all look even right now, but I do come back later and even them out. Now directly under the dot that is even with the grid mark, I'm putting 1 large dot, and then immediately I'm coming back and putting another dot underneath, and that one's a little bit bigger. Now I'm trying to do what's supposed to be a dot and a swoosh, but you can see that my swoosh was a little weak. But this was a while ago. But anyway, I don't know why I did this, but I went back and I put a dot and then I just walked this, I don't know, really weird looking set of dots around those last elements I had done inside there. And at this point, I'm questioning myself, why did I do that? Uh, Eventually, they look fine. Okay, so you can see here, well, you can't really see here because it's blurry, and I apologize, but it looks like I just went around on those 4 elements and put 1 more dot on top. Then around the collar, in between every other dot, I placed smaller dots. So I have 2 in between the larger dots here, and then underneath that I have 1. So it basically forms like a little triangle. You can't see it too well, but you will in just a second. Okay, here you can see what it was that I was trying to do. So here you can see I used the DecoArt Americana, I used Mermaid Tail and the white, and then I added the Martha Stewart. This is really hard to find. I lucked out, the Oasis Teal, and metallic, folk art metallic white pearl and hologram, and that's it. I started the second collar by just placing a row of dots all around. When I got to the end here, I noticed that I had a space, and I could have done there was 2 things I could do. I could leave it and have a large space, or I could put a little small dot in there. So instead, I counted my dots, and with that count, I had an even amount of dots, and I like even amounts. So I just wiped away 5 and then just respaced them. So I didn't add or subtract any, I just evened them out, and I have my even number of dots. Then in between every other of those dots and below, I placed a smaller dot. And then above and one space over, I placed a small dot on every other one, which you can see what I've done here. I'm using a flat end of a wooden skewer. I get those from the Dollar Tree, and they fit perfectly. They make a really nice little dots. Now, trying to do something that looks, I guess, a little bit better than that pathetic little swoosh, I went on the other side of those dots and just walked a series of dots over and around. Now, with a little more confidence in my swooshes, I'm adding 4 at the top here, going around those 4 lower elements. And to the left of these 4 swooshes, I'm just walking down a series of dots. Now, I don't like to leave just my dots hanging out like that. I always like to put another swoosh around them, sort of like they're hugging them and keeping them as part of a unit. And on the left, I've brought a swish in from the opposite direction to meet in the center. And I don't know why I have some water there, but I'm cleaning that up. So by chance, one day I came across this Martha Stewart paint for $1, the Oasis Teal, very hard to find. If you can't find that, the metallic peacock pearl is very, very similar. So I'm using that. Now I'm going to start embellishing the top here, and I'm placing 4 off-center top dots with that Oasis Teal. And then directly below that, the second row that we had done originally, I'm putting off center top dots in all of those facing inward. Now I thought that the outside looked a little bit weak, so I went back and I added 4 more. I think that looks much better. So what do you think? Reach down, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, give me a thumbs up, and then leave your questions and comments below. And let me know if you think it looks better with the 4 or the 8. Now going back down to the first collar, on each of those original dots there, I am placing a little off-center top dot facing inward, and then back into the center where the swishes and the walk dots are meeting, I'm putting a nice little teal dot on top of them just to hold them together so they don't look like they're all going to float away. Now I'm using pearl white. Now what I'm going to be doing, and there's going to be a lot of stuff that you're not going to see me do, but I want you to know that I am going to be covering probably every single white dot and anything that's white, basically, the white dots, the swooshes, and I'll be covering those with the white pearl. Why do I do that? Well, for a couple of reasons. Probably the most important one is because if I put just the pearl down, the darker color could like seep through, and it just wouldn't look as nice, and I don't want that. I want a nice bright white. And then again, if you put the pearl down before you put the acrylic down and you make a mistake or you want to change something, it's much harder to clean the pearl or the metallic than it is to do the regular acrylic. So that's a biggie. And then lastly, I do it because I really like the way it looks. Now zipping right along, I'm going to cut the chase and not show you all of the little pearly whites that I'm putting on top of the other whites. So you just know in your mind that they're all getting their little treatment, okay? So down below on that last collar and the large dots, I'm putting an off-center top dot, again in the teal, and facing upward on those larger dots all the way around. It's getting a little bit of a lacy look now. It's so pretty, isn't it? A little more of the pearl demonstration here before we move on down to the bottom again. And on that ring on the second collar, I am putting off-center top dots on the two little dots that are in between the, oh gosh, how do I describe this? I don't know. Just, you can see what I'm doing. They're between the larger teal dots, the ones that I'm actually putting a dot of pearl over, making them a lot more prominent. And now I'm adding a little, again, teal top dot, off-center top dot on the uppermost dot of that row. So the little top triangle, top triangle dot. Yeah, you can see what I'm doing. Gosh, it's so hard to describe this. Now I'm putting a white off-center top dot directly under the last one that I put. It's going on the larger of the teal dots below. And the back up at the top, I'm putting an off-center top dot on the large teal dots that I had placed earlier. And I'm giving the center white dot a nice coating of white pearl. Now, the pearl paint has actually kind of run a little bit, so I'm using my paintbrush to clean it up a little bit. And I come back with a Q-tip, and I'm pushing that paint back onto the center dot. Now, because I use the Q-tip, it's a little wonky on the edge there, so I'm using my paintbrush to just gently tap the paint back into position and make it smooth. And here's a quick little side view of what we've done so far. Before I head on up to those little triangles of dots on that first collar, and I'm going to drop a little teal dot right in the center of every other set of those triangles. And now for some hologram, which is one of my favorite things. I'm going to add a little bit of bling. Now you can put a hologram pretty much anywhere you'd like. I'm a fan of hologram and I like to use it, but I like to pick my spots and make sure that I don't put too much. I just want to liven up some of the areas and just make it look pretty. Put it where you want it. Now you can't see it, but I can tell you that the top of this pearl has dried and I just gave it its final coat of hologram. Now we're almost done, and on the edge, the bottom edge, it was just a little too blah for me, so I decided to go and put some left and right swooshes on those in-between areas, and then I dropped 3 dots from the bottom up to the center. Yeah, they look like butterflies or dragonflies. I don't know. They have kind of like a little insecty look. And then right in the middle of where I would call that like the body and the head meets, I'm putting a teal dot. Now I did this backwards. Here I'm adding the pearl on the swishes and on those dots, but in reality, those should have been done before I did the teal. So I'm just cleaning up the edge, taking away, making sure there's no more of the chalk marks or pencil marks, and cleaning that up. And for the finishing touch, which I don't usually ever show, I'm going to give this thing 2 coats of the matte clear Rust-Oleum spray sealer. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, comment, like, subscribe. And until next time, be good, take care, bye-bye.